Welcome back. Thank you for the wonderful response to my second book, Mastering Meditations. Some of you sent pictures, said, here I am with your book. I love it. Some of you already submitted some wonderful reviews. Thank you so much. That really helps people get a feel for the book and what it's doing for people. Really, really powerful. This is the hardback. So the hardback is here for those of you who asked for the hardcover, and artwork around the edge. I couldn't make it work on the hardback because it has an extra space on the side. It just didn't look right. So the cover is very simple and pure because of that. This little line right here, that's because this is my proof of concept that I had them send to me. And wonderfully, the hardcover has the beautiful pictures in color, which is so nice, if that's something that you would like to have. And speaking of pictures, I wanted to share one of the pictures from my book today and explain it a little more thoroughly. So let's get into it. In chapter 11, called The Great Expansion, I go through exercise and exercise and exercise. How can we expand? How can we touch on the expansion of the right brain? How can we do that? And to set that up, to set the stage, I shared with you a subheading called NLP and Enlightenment. And this was a download that was given to me because I was asking, in neurolinguistic programming, we already understand that all of the information of your life comes to you through the 5 senses. And you take all of that raw data, and before you turn it into something, it's just way too big. It's just gigantic, It's just so huge, you cannot process all of it. And so if you want to know what that looks like, if you were to try and process all of the sensory data all of the time, what would that look like? Go to the book, My Stroke of Insight. And her left brain is temporarily shut down. So because of that, the doctor would come to her in the morning and talk with her, and it would take her the rest of the day to process and understand what the doctor had said to her, and she would have the answer maybe 12 or 24 hours later when it was too late. And so what the left brain is doing for us, it's a huge service. And it is taking all of that raw data and trying to pick out what is important to you. And so it deletes, it distorts, and it generalizes that information. And it turns it into categories. It takes what is left of all of that information and it begins to categorize it. And so we say we are left with 5 to 9 parts of information from all of the raw data that was available in this one split second. It's shrunk down to this. And our left brain takes that information and projects it on the screen of the mind, and we live that movie. So we believe that we're living in this world, but we're not. We're actually taking that sensory experience, diluting it drastically, and living what is left as a movie inside of our minds, running our whole life. That's how we run our whole life. So how does that fit with the information of the right brain, of the guardian angel? Ian McGilchrist tells us about the 2 hemispheres of the brain, right? And so he points at the bird. He says, watch the bird. The bird will look at the seed with the right eye, which is cross-connected to the left brain, right? So the predator inside of the bird, I've got to reach out and I've got to get that seed, right? He looks at the seed with his right eye, cross-connected to the left brain. He's using his left brain to peck at the seed and get the sustenance that he needs, right? So all very good. But at that moment when he's reaching out for the seed, at that moment when we're striving for something in our lives, we're a little bit blind to everything else, and it leaves us vulnerable. So nature says, in Ego Christ tells us, nature says, I'm going to give you an entirely different system of your brain to watch out for you while you're focused on the doing of that one little thing. And that's the right brain. That is the presence of the guardian angel looking over our lives all of the time. So the bird pecks at the seed, and while he's doing that, the right brain is hovering over the bird, watching out, making sure he is safe and okay. And that's how the two hemispheres are operating all of the time. So I said, well, what does that look like? In the movie of your life, what does that look like? And the download that I received looked something like this. So you have the higher self hovering up above, looking down on us continuously. And we are that little tiny yogi in this picture. He's meditating. We are that little tiny yogi in the picture show of our lives. But it's not a picture show up on the screen. It's a hologram. And so what I saw in my download was a vision of the holograph, kind of like the hologram on Star Wars. Remember that Star Wars? Those first 3 Star Wars were so great. And you walked into the Millennial Falcon, and Chewie and C-3PO were playing chess. And that chess was a holographic board. And it had these little characters playing inside of the board, and you could see them in 3D. Well, you are that little character on the chessboard of your life with the left brain. The left brain perspective lives inside of the holographic character of your life. So the movie that's running in our brains, by the way, in the book, I talk about how it is the temporal lobe, which is in the left brain, which is projecting your life. So you're living a little hologram in your temporal lobe, which is your life. And the left brain holds the perspective of being inside the character. So you're constantly looking out at life from that character. This character right here, you are looking out from that point of view. Simultaneously, the larger you, the right brain, is looking over the chessboard and watching out continuously for you, seeing all of the chessboard at once, witnessing everything at once, feeling a oneness with everything on the board, in the hologram, all at once. That is the right brain perspective. This is so beautiful because it gives us, in one snapshot, both hemispheres of the brain, both perspectives. And so both of these operating systems are going on all of the time. Your left brain is very mechanical, very straightforward, very list-oriented, very doing. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. So it's very, very linear. But the right brain, the higher self, is looking out for you and sees everything at once. It is a multi-processor. It really takes in and groks the whole all at once. And that is the perspective of the higher self. That is the perspective of the guardian angel in your life. This is the way God sees you. The right brain is bigger and heavier inside of every person. It's always bigger and heavier inside of every brain. Isn't that amazing? You don't even have to be a yogi, and your right brain is always bigger. Why is that? If it's so big, how much do you use it, right? That's the very reason I got into meditation when I was very young. They told me you're not using all of your brain. What? You're only using 10% of your brain. What happens if I use more? 10% is very little. What would that look like? How would that express in my life? I wanted to know. And that is meditation. That is the right brain. We are beginning to tap into and use more of it. When you touch on peace, you're touching on the right brain. When you touch on silence, you are touching on the right brain. When you touch on expansiveness, or this love which includes everything, and a deep compassion, that is touching on the right brain. And so you're using more of your brain. And everybody has a right brain which is bigger than their left. But how much do we use it? And so the yogi that taps into these, the right brain grows even more. The access grows even more. And that's really what meditation is all about, is learning to tap into that depth, which is hidden inside of us. So the picture is very simple, right? And those eyes are even on the cover, right? And it seems very simple. And yet there's this profoundness to it, that at any moment we have a picture which can show us exactly how we fit into the world around us. And that there's this huge amount of blessing, of guidance, of divine intervention, which is there and available for us at any moment, if only we will begin to tap into it. So I hope that you love this. I hope you love all of the beautiful color pictures in the hardcover. If you did, be sure to hit that bell down below, and I'll see all of you next time.